So hey everyone, I'm Anubhav Garg from LawSikho and I welcome you all in our today's session of how to make career in unconventional crimes. We're specifically focused on scams and money laundering. And with as a subject matter expert, we have Nilesh Tribhuvann sir with us. Thank you sir for being here. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks. Thank you so much for the inviting.
So Nilesh sir, I will give a brief introduction of Nilesh sir that
Very well.
he has worked almost 6 years under Ram Jethamalani sir as his associate, and now he is running his own law firm named White and Brief, and of course, he is its managing partner. So the major areas of Nilesh sir's expertise is unconventional laws, contractual laws, intellectual property, real estate, telecommunications, and media and technology. So, sir, why don't we start with knowing your journey as a lawyer and as a professional?
First of all, thank you so much for the brief introduction which has been given just now. I'm glad to be here, and I hope everybody is enjoying their own quarantine time safely at their own residence. Now, coming back to your question, how did I start in my journey as a lawyer with Mr. Jetmalani, sir? Let me just give you some background about me and myself, my family first. I belong to a family of lawyers. I have almost 60 lawyers in my family. My grandfather is a lawyer, my mother is a lawyer, my uncles are lawyer, many of my cousins are lawyer, many of them are studying law, my sister is a lawyer. So being coming from this lawyer family, I'm a third generation lawyer. So I had already privileged to know some background about how the entire industry works and the functions. Slowly, when I while passing out from my college, I had developed an interest in economic crime. So I just wanted to join somebody who was expert in that. So of course, none other than Mr. Jetmalani was an expert in that. So I contacted him through my own sources. So I knew somebody there. So they have been earlier asked me to join as an intern. When I joined as an intern, I was made to work for their work as an intern for 3 months, and thereafter I was absorbed as an associate there, and I worked there for almost, I believe, for 6 years. And thereafter, I started my own journey under the name of White and Brief.
Okay. So what was the pivot when you choose to the leave Mr. Rajat Malani's office and start your own law firm?
So during this 6 years, I was doing my independent practice also while I was working with him. We were allowed to take our independent matters. So while doing so, I started taking up my independent matter and started appearing in the court, doing my own research. So during that process, I gathered some confidence. Now I can do this. And 6 years was, according to me, a substantial period under to whom you can work, so, and learn lot many things. So I learned lot many things. Thereafter, I decided to start my own.
All right, wonderful story, sir.
Yeah.
The main reason I ask lawyers to share their journey is that our audience get a piece of their mind and understand the kind of mindset you need to develop, the struggle you will be going through, and the kind of people and situation you have to deal with in this profession. So, sir, let's kick things off with this question. What are the career prospects for young lawyers in this field of unconventional criminal law?
Career.
Career prospects for young lawyers in the field of unconventional criminal law.
Okay, so let me just begin my answer with a witty answer. So I'll tell you, our president of India is a lawyer. The vice president is also a lawyer. So Mr. Ramnath Kovind is a lawyer, and Venkatesh Naidu is also a lawyer. So there are no limitations in this profession that what you want to be. You can be a president or you can be a topmost lawyer in the world, just like Mr. Harish Salve. So there are no boundaries as such. As far as the young lawyer goes, I would like to give for you this answer. It's a quite long answer, rather. See, for a young lawyer, there are three options. The first option is to join a chamber. Now, before we get into the joining a chamber or joining a firm, you'll have to first of all filter your geographical areas wherein you want to practice. So you cannot have a white collar crime practice in the remote areas of India. You can have it only in the metro cities wherein such kind of a scams usually happens, where the company exists, where the government machinery exists. Now, just for an example, suppose if there is a case of money laundering. There are special courts established for that. So the special court, CBI courts, wherever there is a money crime involved, usually there is a special statute. When there is a special statute, the special courts are being established for that particular purpose. Just like the CBI court is there in Mumbai, CBI court is there in Delhi, CBI court is there in Bangalore. But you may not find it in Rajkot, you may not find it somewhere else. So you'll have to define your geographical, as per your geographical location, you'll have to see what kind of a practice I can get into. So now, suppose if your benefit of shifting from one place to another place, if you can just come to a metro places, then that would be really great. So in the metro places, what happens is now, suppose just to give an example, in Mumbai, we have a high court, we have a Mantralaya here, we have a CBI court, we have money laundering cases, we have everything. So whatever related to the finance, whatever related to the government, power, plus the Bollywood, everything is here in Mumbai. So it is very easy to work in that particular aspect in Mumbai, Delhi. I would rather say only two cities, Mumbai, Delhi, and additionally Bangalore now, which is upcoming one. Now, your questions also follows that what should a young lawyer do? So there are two categories. One is joining a chamber of someone who is who usually goes to the court. Joining a chamber has an advantage of you getting an exposure from the day one, the exposure of the courts from the day one itself. And the disadvantage would be in that you don't get paid well. So usually most of the chambers don't, either they do not pay or they pay a very minimalistic amount to just survive. But while joining a chamber, one person should have a mindset that I'm not going there to earn money, because money is nothing, at least for a year, if you just ignore your financial part and you just see what kind of a learning process you're learning. So in the process you learn a lot. It's your knowledge is always more valued than any kind of a money. So the experience, the knowledge, the practical knowledge you get to see people arguing, you get to read the brief, you get to meet the clients directly. So such kind of benefits are there in a chamber. As far as the firm practice goes, usually in a firms, people get packaged from somewhere around 6 lakhs to 12 lakhs rupees at the beginning. So there are many people who usually offer such kind of packages. So in a firm, the advantage being that you have a multi-layer approvals for everything. So suppose if you have to make a draft, so once the person is there who is expert at drafting, you can see how is drafting. There is another team for the research. So the research team will help you. So there are multiple. It's an association of people who usually help each other to grow further in a life. And here, for one draft gets approved from, suppose you're an associate, it goes to a principal associate, then it goes to a senior associate, then the principal associate, then the associate partner, and then the partner. Then it's come back. So, there are many people who are putting an input to it, deciding the strategy about the matter. So it's more of a desk job than the field job. So this differentiation is there. But however, so there are advantages and disadvantages at both the places. So these are the advantages that you will get to learn from many people in one go. So because there are multi-layer, your single draft, single applications also get approved from, the multi-layer approvals. As far as this goes, wherever else, I guess, as far as your disadvantages goes, so after a point of time, you feel very stagnant in a firm. So because it's a monotonous work, the work culture is same. So you get bored to that because it's not that exciting ultimately. So and another disadvantage I would say. So if you just compare yourself to a litigator and the person who's working in the chamber or having its own practice, and the same person who's working in a firm. So the growth wise, the firm, the longer term growth of a firm or person who's working in a firm is much more or lesser, I believe, than the litigator.
So, sir, though you have covered most of the aspects,
Yeah.
just a one place where I want your insights is, what is the demand supply function for lawyers in unconventional crime?
So demand and supply, again, I'll just take you back to the cities. So if you're in a city like Mumbai and Delhi,
Yeah.
So there are every day some of the other scam is happening. So it is that most of the things, even if you open a paper, if you just open a newspaper, every alternate day you'll find some of the other financial crime in like city like Mumbai, at least in Mumbai and Delhi. So there, whenever there is a demand, so there are layers to this. Suppose I'll just give an example of PNB scam, which is everybody is aware about now. So maybe you may not have a direct access to the director. You may not get those clients, but you may get the employees, you may get the directors, you may get the manager, you may get the another employees to that. So there are multi-level people. So all of them do not go to one lawyer, and nobody takes their responsibility as well, because everybody wants to put forward or present their case differently. So as soon as there is a crime, the people go out. So 100 people go out in the hunting of a lawyer. So there is a demand. I don't think so. There is a shortage of a demand and supply. There are equal lawyers. I would rather say that we require a more young lawyer and the brilliant people in this field.
Okay. Okay. So though there is a demand, but the demand is confined to metropolitan cities like Delhi and
Right.
Bangalore and
Right.
yeah. Great answer, sir. So, all right. So this brings me to my next question. What are some tasks that constitute the major portion of work in unconventional crimes? It would be really great if you can give us 5, 6 pointers like drafting, briefing, arguing, etc.
Okay. So first of all, when you're doing such kind of a practice, it's not a one-person job. You need to have a good team. Why I'm saying is because everything has every paper is very voluminous. So there are bank transactions, there are company papers, there are other documents related to that, there are guidelines, rules, violation. So it is not a one person job to go through everything, and one person cannot be expert at everything. I would rather say that's how the people usually work in association. So the firm has an association of people, the separate department for a research, separate department for a drafting, a reading, and making a notes. So there are layers to that. So one, I'll just give you an example. If suppose a matter comes to us, what we do is usually we take up the matter, we we read the matter thoroughly. So all of us will read, and then there'll be a research, there'll be a drafting. Once the drafting session is done, then the next level comes for the counsel. But we call it, if you have to engage a counsel, so we call it a briefing counsel. So you have to meet a briefing counsel, brief the matter to him, and thereafter comes the arguing counsel. If the same person is arguing, so the arguing counsel comes in. So it is not a one-person job; it is divided. However, if at all you are the ultimately you're going to be an arguing counsel, you cannot prepare the brief as well. So you need it's a combination of both which should go forward in such kind of a cases. Because the rest of the cases usually the papers are not that voluminous, so that you don't invest your time in finding because see all these cases are usually investigated and investigated by brilliant officers. So the CBI has a very good team, and SEBI has a very good team. So those people are very brilliant. So to crack those cases and to see what kind of an offense has been, what kind of offense actually our client has committed, to come out of it, you need to study that matter from all the aspects. You have to study the matter from the lawyer's aspect. You have to study the matter from the opponent aspects. You have to study the matter from the judge's aspects, and plus the whatever the prevailing law. And thereafter you have to present the case. So it's a multi-layer process, I would rather say. So everything is involved. So you cannot be a master of all, but whatever you are at, just be good at it.
Okay, okay. So though I'm very satisfied with your answer, uh, just for the sake of making learnings more articulate in the session, can you give us 4, 5 pointers? Just summarize what you have just said. These tasks.
Just to summarize. So first of all, you need to have a very good reading skills. So you are not supposed to miss a single detail of it.
Okay.
So the reading is the one of the key point I would say, and then the drafting, putting it forward. So that is also another thing. So if you read 500 pages, you cannot write 500 pages about it. You have to be very precise in your writing skills. That you call a drafting. So if you just because the court is not gonna go through 500 pages, the court would only want to see 5 pages or 6 pages of a note, because they already know the law. You just have to give them a facts. You're not there to teach them a law. You are just there to present your case properly. That means your facts properly. So the drafting and the reading would be the key points. I would rather say.
Okay. Okay, sir. Great. All right. So, moving on to the next question. w- Which organizations are the top employers in the scams and money laundering branch of the white collar crimes? And on an average, how much does a lawyer earn in these organizations as they are tier one?
Okay, so when see there are tier one, tier two, tier three firms as everybody's aware about. So usually, such kind of scams are being handled by the topmost firms because that kind of a skill set is required by the kind of a law they usually hire is having that kind of a skill set. So SLB is there, CAM is there, FAM is there, Khaitan is there, MZM is there in Mumbai, and we are also there. We White and Brief also have this division, so we also hire people from that particular place.
Okay.
And the you I guess you asked about the package
Yes.
also.
Yeah.
So the package is usually runs from 6 to 10 to 12 lakh rupees per annum for the beginners.
Okay. So usually the firms we find as tier one in the areas of M&A and uh, other IBC work and corporate litigation, they are the one who also ace in when it comes to unconventional crimes.
Yeah, they don't do bodily offenses.
Okay.
Most of them don't do
Yeah.
bodily offenses.
Uh, Most of them don't have a unconventional criminal law practice. Okay, sir. Very well put. So, coming to the next question, till now we have understood the career prospects, demand and supply, kind of work, potential employers. Now we should discuss what are the workplace challenges for young lawyers during the initial years of their career in this niche, when they actually step into the playing ground.
Uh, okay, so I'll just tell you now. If at all you want to come in the playground, you need to be a very good test match player first. So once you clear your test match and the net practice, once you're good at it, then only anyone, whoever your employer would be, will send you to the ground to play the actual match. Initially, they may not send you as a opening batsman. They might send you at a second or third or fourth level. So thereafter, you can go in that process. Usually nowadays, it has been observed by all of us at least that young lawyers do not have a patience. So they do not have a patience to wait and get mature enough to appear in the court without reading their brief, without gathering a knowledge. So they appear in the court. So they need to be very patient. So one case will not teach you anything. So according to me, you need to at least go through 50, 60 cases to understand how the entire system works. So once you're aware about it, then only you should think about that, I want to go and appear in the court. So that should be an approach and not the premature one. For 1 year minimum, you have to give it to yourself. Minimum, I'm talking about.
Okay. So, sir, why don't we discuss what are the challenges you faced during your work, during your tenure with Mr. Ram Jethamalani, sir, and how you
So,
cope up with them?
so you want to add a salt to the wound? Anyway, yes. So what we used to do is we used to work for 16 to 17 hours in a day. We were not even aware that what the holiday looks like. So we were not even aware about it. So I mean, I remember sir used to give us, so suppose when a matter comes, usually such kind of a matters are on an urgent basis. So it is not something that it comes with the prior warning. So CBI raids your place without a warnings, and once the CBI raids, you're arrested, and then directly you need a lawyer. So such kind of things usually happens. So sir used to tell us, okay, now prepare this brief. I want everything by tomorrow. So without sleeping, without even sleeping, we used to work. So those were the challenges what we usually faced. Apart from that, and just like I mentioned earlier, when you're in a chamber practice, you don't get paid. So without a payment, when you are working like this, you need for beginners. You usually feel like, okay, what I'm doing in my life, I'm not even getting a paid out of it. But when you see it at the long term, what the knowledge what we gained during that time, it's absolutely priceless. So you don't realize it then when you're working on it. You realize it only after after years time or something, that so much of knowledge I've gathered from the best people in that particular subject. That's what matters, I believe,
Okay.
at the end of the day. So no, please.
Yeah, great answer, sir. Till now, what I have understood from your answer is one major challenge faced by young lawyers at workplaces is that they are impatient. Second, they are not automatically inclined to pick things from the environment in order to grasp the knowledge. And third, these are two more. Can you give us a bit more?
Sorry, you'll have to repeat your question. Sorry.
Okay. What I said is, till now we are clear with two workplace challenges. First is being impatient. Second is lack of observation to pick the knowledge from your seniors and when you're observing proceedings. Can you give us two, three more, or is that it?
No, so I would this is just I'll just put it in an advisory. So it's just that you need to be more patient, be more attentive to all the proceedings. Whenever you are standing in the court, rather than being on your phone, you can just give an attention to the proceedings, what is happening, how the person is presenting, what kind of mistakes he is making, or whether he is putting a right law or not. So just because of so suppose sometimes it happens once a senior lawyer is appearing, just because of he's saying that is not the law. So you have to just go back and read whether whatever has been submitted is right or wrong. So you need to be more observant, more you listen to the cases more, read the judgments frequently. So such kind of things are there.
Okay. Okay. Precisely. Great answer. So, as I have interviewed so many lawyers and other people from legal fraternity, when I ask this same question, that
Mhm.
what are the major workplace challenges, they say that young lawyers lack a entrepreneurial, a business perspective towards a legal practice. That they don't see it as a organization, as an enterprise. They usually just tend to see as a office, that it is just a legal practice, and they don't understand the importance of brand building. They don't understand the importance of networking with the clients and over delivering. These sort of things are also there, so I thought, yeah, I should put it
No, no,
with your
not,
answer.
not. I'm completely against all this. Completely against all this. Once you have a knowledge, see, understand, you're being valued even no matter how much networking you're doing. If you do not have a knowledge, it doesn't make any sense. So the key is that you need to have a knowledge. So as far as young, so until see for a few years, at least for 5 years, you should only focus on gathering a knowledge and presenting it. So there are two aspects to it. One, you having a knowledge with you, and you're not able to express it. What is the point of it? So I mean, gathering a knowledge and expression. So there are two aspects. Just like for a law students. So if you just study the law and you're just making a preparation for the examination, and within this 3 hours of when you have to write the actual exam paper, you don't write anything. So what is the point of it? So first of all, you have to understand, read, and then the express. Once these two are there, definitely you don't need to do anything for 5 years. You just have to learn, and once you're thorough with the learning process, people will automatically follow you because you are more knowledgeable. So
Okay.
nowadays there are many places where you can exhibit your talent. So you just have to exhibit your talent. You don't have to chase anybody.
That's for sure. The Without any doubt, the merit and being knowledgeable, being valuable as a professional comes first. But I think the part which usually gets neglected by people is this networking and actually being marketable as a lawyer. So I think
So
so.
no, not at all. That's why the marketing is not allowed.
No,
So
that is what I'm saying. Huh?
indirect. If you're talking about an indirect marketing, for an indirect marketing also. So see, can you sell Rahul Gandhi?
I don't
You
think.
can't. You can't. Despite of he having a money, he having a marketing team, but he does not. I mean, he can't even speak. So what kind of I mean, despite of having everything, despite of having a Gandhi name, he cannot
Yeah.
stand by himself. He cannot say Abhishek Bachchan. So the talent is the key ultimately. So once you are a talented, then you can do whatever you want. But ultimately, for first thing, you foremost is a knowledge and the presentation of it. Until unless that is there, you can't achieve anything in your life.
Jesus. I totally agree on that.
Yeah.
So, sir, this brings me to my next question. So, what are the skills required in order to excel in the field of white collar crimes, or so to say unconventional scams and money laundering, particularly? So, you have been running your own firm for almost 4 years now. So, what are the skills you look in a potential recruit who can be of some value to your practice, to your firm?
Okay. Okay, there's a question and there's a follow-up questions. So to hire somebody. So let me just start with that. To hire someone, I would rather. The moment CV comes to me, I don't look at it that only he's pursuing law and so much of percentage he has gathered. So I'd rather see the way of a presentation. All the facts should be covered in your CV. That means the duration of your internship from for the period where you are joined. So all those details plus the percentage plus what you do in your free time apart from just pursuing your college degree. So there are moot courts, there are internships, there are articles, there are other the courses which are available. So if you're not doing that, then you're just wasting your time. So if you're not serious about your own career, that is reflected from the CV itself. If you're serious, then you don't waste your time like that. So I mean, I've seen people from the first year till 5 years, they have not even wasted their single vacation. Every time they have interned or learned some or the other new thing from your platform. Also, there are many things to learn. So you can learn whatever you want rather than wasting your time, because that contributes ultimately when you go for a job. That everything will count. And as far as I guess the other question was there, and then there are two questions. No?
Yeah. So my question was the skills you look in a potential recruit.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
let's put it in this way. What
Yeah.
what is the repertoire required to succeed in the field of scams and money laundering? Like
Okay.
how to represent clients and everything.
So before representation, I would say one thing. So if at all you're interested in such kind of a practice and you're not a practitioner in this area, so it's just because of that you do not have a particular case that doesn't stop you from studying the case. So usually the frauds and the scams are happening every alternate day. So you can see it on the newspaper. The main thing is that what do you do it after reading it in the newspaper. So I'll just give an example. If the Chidambaram case is there, so now everybody is aware about the Chidambaram case. But what was it? What kind of a scam was it? What the court's views are? Why? I mean, take an efforts to follow up of that case. Go to the official website, download the judgment, read it, follow it. Once you read the judgment, you have the clarity what kind of offense this particular person has done. So you need to have that eager to learn new things. So the finance, it's just like, so it's a modus of operandi. So there are modus of operandi, we call it, for all financial crimes. The modus of operandi is same. There are certain equipments being used. So just like suppose for a murder, you cannot kill a person without a knife, without a gun, or without something, or a strangling him. So there are only 4 5 modes, or hardly 10 modes to kill somebody. Similarly, to do a financial crime, there are only 10 modes, not more than that. So the scope is very limited there as well. So you need to understand that each and every case is different. So if you read 10 cases, you'll understand how the entire, first of all, how the fraud happens and how to defend and what are the codes view. So all this material is available to you over the internet. Even just by reading the newspaper and you forget about it, that shouldn't be an approach. That shouldn't be an approach.
Okay, sir. So I think I should have put it in this way. The skills question I want to I want to pick more of your brains in
Yeah, okay.
this question because uh, so let's get that. Let's put it in this way. Key, ha- what are the practical nuances one needs to learn in order to succeed in this niche? As we are not taught the practical intricacies of any law in law school, right? So what are the things one should learn in order to succeed in this niche?
So just like
Practical
it's
things
so,
like
so, so
representing clients, like actually making drafts, analyzing cases.
no, you see, I'll tell you. That's what I guess my answer was to that effect itself. So once you talk about the practical knowledge, so this is the practical knowledge, right? So nobody teaches you in the college the Money Laundering Act or the other financial related. There are many acts. In the central government, there are more than 10,000 acts. In every state, there is more than 4 to 5,000 acts. So the law colleges are not supposed to teach you each and everything. So what the law colleges are teaching you the foundation. So they're just making your foundation clear. The foundational subjects would be your constitution, interpretation, drafting, plus all these subjects
Environmental
are
law.
there. Once your foundation, that is a constitution, once it is clear that this is what the system works, this is what once you read the jurisprudence, how the jurisprudence evolves, how the law is made, one, and how to interpret it. Then second one, the next subject what we usually everybody has is interpretation, how to interpret it. So all once the foundation is clear, so whatever the new case comes to, you can understand the law. So even if just for an argument's sake, even if you just consider that they are teaching you all the laws, but the laws are getting updated time and again. The new laws are also being introduced time and again. So the reading judgments, whatever. So suppose if the new law is there and there is any difficulty in understanding the judgment, understanding the law, you can just simpliciter go and on the Supreme Court site and download few judgments. You'll understand the clarity. The sections, the Supreme Court is there to interpret law. So the interpretation is much more clear for everybody. So is there any difficulty? You just have to pick up the judgment and read and understand it. So that kind of an attitude, until unless you have, this is the main thing. Your attitude to learn new things on your own. Nobody gonna teach you post your law colleges. Nobody gonna teach you. Okay, sit down and I'll teach you this law. That doesn't work this way. So the drafting is definitely there. I mean, reading and the drafting is again. Reading, drafting, and the research. These three things are the key.
Okay. Uh, s- okay, sir. So as you have already mentioned that we are not unconventional criminal law like PMLA, Prevention of Corruption Act, IT Act. So how in the modern times, how and from where can we learn these law in and understand the practical nuances you have just mentioned of this branch of white collar crimes, like we know that there is a huge deal of forensics involved, like collecting and preserving evidence, arguing, you mentioned briefing to the arguing counsel, so all that, from where and how can we learn that?
Okay, so to learn that following a case is the best thing. So following up on any case, the best thing. So I would say, so if you just pick up any judgment of a Supreme Court or on a High Court, you will come to know of any case which is related to the financial crime. So just for example, now we are on the Chidambaram case. We can just take an example of the Chidambaram case. So from point one, okay, what kind of offense it was, what kind of evidence police has collected, and what the defense counsel has argued, what are the laws involved, how the process follows, and the court's view. You can learn everything only from one judgment. So the moment because it's available online to everybody, it's made public. So just one by way of just reading one judgment can give you so much of knowledge. You imagine if you just read 10 judgments or 15 judgments, you'll have a knowledge of that particular subject.
Okay, so one thing is reading the judgments. So, and what about the other skills? Like, can you illustrate a bit more on the forensics involved?
I didn't get you. Forensics involved. See, for the forensics involvement, usually and you don't have to study it much. So because every document which is being collected by the prosecution is subjected to report from the forensic department. So you don't have to study it much. You just have to confront your client, whether it is your signature or somebody else's, or have you fabricated it or not. So accordingly, you have to build your defense.
Okay, and by forensics, I mean the sort of audits and the scrutinies which are usually put on organizations. And is that only thing?
So you're talking about the auditing.
Yeah, auditing and the preserving of evidence, that is also a major portion of it.
So we don't do that. So I'll tell you, there are two aspects now. If you're talking about the white collar crime, the preserving of the evidence, we are not supposed to collect the evidence. We are just supposed, whatever is being presented by the prosecution, we are just supposed to defend it and not to collect a new material. When you want to collect a new material which is contrary to the proceedings which has been presented by the prosecution, and under that circumstances you may collect it. So that can be used. That those material is any which is available on MCA website. If it is related to the company, it is available in the MCA website. If it is a partnership firm, then you can ask it from your client. So those kind of things are there. You want me to tell you what kind of things you want to look into it?
Yeah,
So what exactly what kind of a documents you want to look into it? That's
yeah,
what.
yeah,
You see, the audited balance sheet is one of the most important thing. Audited balance sheets, the board resolutions, if there are any, if there are any board resolution, or the company compliance which has been done. So all those three things are good enough to come to any kind of a conclusion. Because other documents you can fabricate and create it subsequently. So I don't think so. That is relevant here.
okay. Uh, okay, fine. So looks like my homework is not up to the mark, so I'm asking irrelevant questions here.
No, no,
Uh,
no.
it's fine. Matlab, it happens. Sorry for being so naive about the session. I have only two, three questions left. Then we can open the forum for the attendees to ask questions.
Very good.
So, one is, what is the scope of independent practice in this niche? What are the pitfalls one should look for while building his own practice? There can't be a better person than you to answer this question, as you have just started your. Just means your
Four
firm is
years.
comparatively,
4 years.
yeah, comparatively new, and you have also witnessed many independent practitioners' journey while working, Mr. Jethamalani. So,
Sorry.
uh, so,
So
question was, what is the scope of independent practice in this niche?
the scope of independent practice would definitely start after you gathering an experience under a person who has been working in this field since a very long time. So I was working for sir for almost 6 years. So his core practice area was this itself. His core practice area was having an economic everything related to the economic offences. Hence, so once I started my independent practice, my interest towards was that I want to continue. My interest has gone up, so I wanted to continue with that kind of a practice itself. So when once you want to go in that particular path, so you meet such kind of a people who will definitely try and help you out. So my first case I still remember. I got through my sir itself. So he requested me to continue, take up this matter since because of certain difficulty he couldn't take it. He couldn't take it up. So that matter was handed over to me, and thereafter I started actually learning from that particular brief how to read the brief, how to go into how to appear in the courts, what kind of a preparation you need to have before going to the court. So all those things has given. So slowly, once I've started appearing in the courts, my confidence has gone up. And it's through a mouth publicity from one person to another. It's usually spreads across, and accordingly, my practice got developed in this industry. That's what I would say. It's a gradual process. I have not done a special efforts for it.
Okay, okay. So, sir, you mentioned that it is not a work of one person. You have to have a team with you. So, how you put together a team? And yeah, first answer this, then I will ask another.
Sorry, how
How
I
you put together a team? How you um,
who put together a team. Okay, so when you start it, so see, I'll tell you, when you start it, you have already fair enough idea that where you're lacking in. So you need to know what are your core competences and where you're lacking in. So this two things are there. So once you identify that, I was a very bad person in accounting. So I wanted to have taken help of somebody who will help me in accounting and to understand the money trade. So to understand, because there is a help of you need the help of a CA also sometimes. So I had a one friend of mine, so I requested him, can you at least help me in that? So, so the first step where I was lacking, I started getting that from a particular friend. And then when you have to read a voluminous paper, then you need a team. So you want to have a lawyer who can understand this basic. Okay, so the lawyer who has an experience from 0 to 1 year can just read this paper and give me this kind of information what exactly I wanted from here. So usually, slowly, gradually you develop a team. So now, once a lawyer is there, once the CA is there, and then you need somebody for a research. Once and that other person will give you a research. So I wanted a team I wanted to develop a team. So accordingly, I've contacted one person. So they started sending me the series of people who are interested to work in this field, and we started recruiting them, and that's how we developed a team.
Okay. So you mainly hired people from your network. You didn't seek help from any job
Yes,
portal or something.
yes, we have taken. So that's why we have contacted one job portal itself.
The
So
job portal.
they have started giving it LLC.
Okay.
So
So
Nipun helps us with the recruiting part.
oh, because what usually happens is 80% of the jobs don't get marketed. Only the remaining 20% do, because these 80% people hire from their network only. So that
Usually it happens at the beginning. Usually it happens at the beginning, but I have a very bad experience for the same. When you hire people from your experience from your network
existing network.
without looking at the merits, then you only suffer ultimately, and not anybody else. So you need to be sure that what exactly you want. If you want a quality, then definitely the job portal is the right option to go for, because you have a variety. You can scrutinize. You can get. You can get to see meet many talented people, and you can choose out of them.
Okay, sir. Okay, so can you illustrate a bit more? No, can you just tell us more insights on mechanism of making billables for a firm which is nascent in its nascent stages?
Billable means, I mean, you don't decide it that you want to make it a billable for sure. So whatever is billable. The moment brief comes to you, it starts from the reading stage itself. So you don't do it deliberately, but you have to do it, being a part of the profession. Anyways, so once the brief comes to you, so your billing starts from the reading process till the time it is being presented in the court. It's separate. So once it is presented in the courts, usually sometimes it's hour wise, because it's depending on the case to case and the client to client. For us, we usually do it the stages wise. Most of the people do it the hour wise as well. Why I'm saying it specifically as the stages wise, because if your reading speed is slow, that doesn't mean the client should suffer for it. If your reading speed is faster, so I mean you can divide it the stages wise. First is reading, drafting, research, and the presentation. Once this is done, then you can go move on to the next stage.
Okay.
So this would amount to your billable hours.
Okay. So by billable, I meant the pricing strategy, because
So
what
by billable means
by by using the term billables, I meant the pricing strategy the firms should opt, because they are at the nascent stage
the
and
price. So in this, see, usually it doesn't come up with an MRP for sure. So it depends on the skill sets of the lawyer, and depends on the kind of a voluminous papers you want to go through. So sometimes the paper may be only a 10 page, 10 page or notes must be there that you have to go through. Sometimes it could be 10,000 pages. So it's all depend on what kind of a stakes are involved, what kind of a voluminous paper you want to go through. It's all depend on that. I don't think so in any firm in India would be having a straight jacket formula that this would be. Of course, there is one initial fees. Initiation fees is usually fixed for every firm, but what happens thereafter is the firms, depending on the matter and the skill sets.
Acha, what is the range of this initial fees?
So usually, I mean, usually for the tier one firms, it could be from 10 lakhs to 25 lakhs. Tier two would usually charge from 5 lakhs onwards.
And for independent counsels?
They charge more, I believe. But anyways, so it's different for independent councils. Usually it happens like that. So if they want to draft, it's from the drafting skills. Usually those who are new in this field. So what they do is they divide the stages wise. So the build stage is there. So they'll charge them at the build stage wise. And if you want me to give you a rough around idea, so it would be in Mumbai, not a lesser than 2 to 3 lakh rupees,
Okay.
not lesser than that for sure.
Okay. So, sir, speaking about independent practice, we know that mentioned it in hundreds of webinars that a practice revolves around the lawyer, but it stands on clients. So, speaking of clients, how to bring
It
more clients
stands
to
only
the
on.
lawyer? Sorry,
Sorry. It stands only.
I said that a practice revolves around the lawyer, but it stands on the clients, right? So, sir, my question is of this: how to bring in more clients, and or how to be a rainmaker in this field? I am asking this because this question is indirectly also answers the question of how to scale and sustain your practice. So, if you can start with how you do it, and that we can get understanding of the real life situations.
See, in my opinion, again, I would repeat my answer. If you have a knowledge, you and if you are consistent in your performance, you don't have to do an extraordinary efforts to develop your practice. That's what I've learned. At least in Mumbai, you don't have to do anything. Your every appearance counts in the court. If you are not prepared, don't go to the court at all. If at all you are prepared, there are 100 people in the court who are watching you. So in this COVID-19 situation, also, if just like this, we are doing a webinar, the court has started doing that. So the many people are watching you, the way you present your case, the way you're thorough with your facts, the way you have done your research. So your every appearance count. It is not something that you're performing in a room and nobody's looking at you. So to be a rainmaker in this industry, you have to consistently perform in the court. Consistent performance in the court is the key. So it's just like playing a match before thousands of audience. They can immediately understand who is the best player amongst all of them. So whoever is the best, everybody wants the best. So and of course, depends subject to the payment as well. So whoever everybody wants the best person ultimately. So if you are a best performer in the court, so people will definitely follow. You don't have to go and do an extra effort. So I'll just just for an example, have you heard of the name of Mr. Abad Ponda by any chance? Have you
Sorry,
heard of name of Mr. Abad Ponda?
no.
Okay, he's one of the best lawyer in Mumbai. So whatever economical offenses are related, any criminal work is related, he is the person who everybody wants him. Everybody wants him. He's not on a social media. He doesn't do a branding. He doesn't do anything. So you go to any lawyer in India, most of them are not into a branding part of it. This is the new generation, those who thinks that the practice can be developed only by marketing, only by networking. More than a knowledge, they are focusing on this. So that's why, according to me, yeah, I would beg to differ in that particular scenario.
Uh, okay, sir. For sure, the thing you said, that being consistent with your practice, being prepared, being on your feet, and delivering results to your client, that is for sure. That is proving merit, and nothing can replace that. And I'm totally with that. But sir, uh, what are the other practices one can adopt to bring more clients? Like we know that writing articles, making a YouTube channel, being up to date on LinkedIn, that really counts. And I have seen lawyers. I know a lawyer who has literally made his practice out of Lawyers Club India. So, can you illustrate a bit of more on those
I
sides of
would
things?
like to I would like to hear their names, please, because you must have heard that I have never come across with a person who has developed a practice only through
No,
any kind of a course.
not only through, but
See,
these things also played a major role.
these are your supplements. So until unless, even if you, I mean, I'll just put it in this way. Even if you are allowed to an advertise, so if you follow any advertise, if Karishma Kapoor is or any, suppose Deepika Padukone is selling one particular product, and that product has no merits, so ultimately it will fail. So no matter how much money you invest in it. So similarly, so even if you are doing indirect marketing, now the lawyers are doing indirect marketing for themselves, as per you. So when you do an indirect marketing, you're just exhibiting your knowledge to one particular platform. That that only gives you a recognition of your knowledge. So I would agree to that to a certain extent. That suppose I've read today. There's one particular lawyer who basically was my classmate. He's not there on my Facebook. So he is being, in regards to the COVID-19, he's studying that particular epidemic act. He's studying it, and uh, every section he's trying to give an explanation to every section so that people can understand it what it is exactly. So such kind of an exhibition of his own interpretation to the knowledge, then I will remember his name, but that doesn't mean that he is an expert to that field. So he can just get a recognition from the society, but he cannot get a recognition in the court. So ultimately, what people need is the recognition in the court, and who will get them results, not the person who's been just known by 500 people.
Okay. Okay, sir. So, what changes do you anticipate in this industry in the nearby future, like in coming 5-7 years, and how lawyers should prepare for it? Please confine the answer to scams and money laundering, and area of the white collar crimes.
See, to be confined to this, I would say that this is most promising industry at the moment, because whatever has, I mean, in our country, how it functions, the scams which happens 2 years ago, 3 years ago, or 4 years ago, which comes to the knowledge to the people after 2 or 3 years. So whatever the banking regulations what we had earlier up till today, so just like a Madhwan case, so such kind of violators will come into a light to many people in near future, just like an Yes Bank has happened. So there are many cooperative banks in India who has done such kind of frauds. So once the master is caught, slowly the rest of the people will be also caught. So there won't be any changes in this industry, but this is the most promising industry. That's what I can say. Secondly, rather than now, if you see, rather than the physical crimes, more people are more interested in doing sitting at the table and doing it. So just like a Jignisha also done this exact same thing by pressing few buttons on the internet, sorry, on your laptop, and he has minted money out of it. So such kind of a frauds will start because everything is online, everything is going online, everything is becoming digital. So when you're in a transition phase, and during that transition phase, such kind of a cases gonna get come up more and more in numbers. So we need a lawyers in this industry.
So let's take the cognizance of the prevailing situation of COVID pandemic. So how lawyers can make the best use of this opportunity of quarantine for their professional growth, for their brand building, for making a profile amongst the in the legal fraternity. This is my final question because our attendees are fuming with some really
So
hot questions. Yeah,
so during the quarantine period you're talking about.
yeah. In this quarantine, how to ace this quarantine?
I think you just need to you try and learn a good human being than try and being a lawyer. So we are all of us are going through a very difficult situation. So rather than focusing on a networking, we should focus on ourselves and developing a new skill. So once you develop a new skill, you can use it in your profession in the near future. That's what I can say. I don't believe in networking, marketing. I don't believe in that
Okay.
at all.
Uh,
I believe in.
can you tell us some specific tasks we can do in order to become more valuable as a professional in these times of quarantine?
So to be more valuable in times of quarantine, I would rather tell you to read books. So which are related to and I'll just tell you. During my quarantine, I'm reading this book, Cheat India. So such kind of books will give you an insight of how these people usually think. So you'll have to understand their psychology also. So I'm doing that research at least now, and what kind of psychology you require to commit such kind of a crimes. So I'm working on that. So I'm for myself at least I'm confining myself towards the psychological part of it. And for you people, I would rather only say just follow judgments, read statutes, read the judgments, and understand it. Understand the law better.
Okay. With this, I am done with my set of questions.
Thank you.
Now it's time for attendees to ask. So,
You're
people, here we go. Nilesh, sir is all yours. Shoot.
Thank you.
Hello.
Yeah.
Hello, my name is Oishirup Sinha. I would like to ask one question.
Yes.
I was thinking that in every scam, perhaps there has to be a public angle. And so it is a
Of course.
scam. Okay. So how do we look into this? I mean, how do you, sir, look into this? Means if somebody wants to act pro bono, means maybe a public interest litigation, he needs to know the psychology and how the things are happening. So I think, sir, you understand my question.
You see, your question is not clear. However, I have understood your intentions. You just want to work for the public, the public who has been cheated. You just want to represent them or to understand it. That's what you're trying to say, right?
Or sir, it is maybe that as you said that we need to follow the things what is happening. Maybe
Right.
for example, you said the Chidambaram thing. It is
Right.
not just like a normal person reading this, but like an advocate to understand how the scam is happening.
Right.
Right. So my question is, if someone finds out that something is wrong, and as a lawyer he studies, he follows it, and he finds that so many people may be going to be affected by this. How, as an advocate, how to proceed with?
So you can simply file an intervention application if at all you are connected party. If at all you are not a connected party to any of that thing. So suppose why I'm saying by using an intervention part, let us just understand the difference between this. So now suppose for a PNB scam,
Right.
one director case is going on there, and you know something which might change the outcome of the case. So you can file your intervention application through a person who's related to PNB. If not, then simpliciter you can file a PIL also to that effect, if with some kind of a substantial evidence. So okay, this is what I think has went wrong, and the court is ignoring, or the parties to the proceedings are deliberately trying to suppress this. You can bring it to the notice of the court.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. By way of either PIL or intervention.
Sir, can I ask one more question?
Yeah, please. Go ahead.
Sir, how would you like to categorize this term unconventional criminal practice? How would you like to categorize it, if you at all?
I don't know how to categorize it. I mean,
Means what would be the sections? What would be acts? You might be saying that these are the acts.
there are many acts. So that's what I'm saying. There are many. It's not only one act. Now there is a PMLA. There is MPID. There is the new act is there. So, I mean, there are multiple acts, not only one act. There would be almost 15 to 20 acts. In the Companies Act also now there is another section which has been introduced, which deals with the financial frauds. So there are many acts, many sections, many statutes which provides. And as per the Companies Act, the new courts has been established to deal with such kind of frauds. So I cannot be precise to one particular act. There are multiple. 15 to 20 at least.
And do you have any specific resource of having a bird's eye view on these acts? Means some website, maybe some journals, maybe which I can follow to understand this
See,
area of this law.
to be very honest now, if you're really interested in learning, just like I said, you pick up any of the case. Like for example, which city are you calling from?
I'm from Kolkata.
If you're from the Kolkata now, I don't know, I don't remember any case from the Kolkata. Just like take an example of Chidambaram now. So if you take up a Chidambaram's case, you will find there is a Money Laundering Act, there is a Prevention Corruption Act, and there is another act also, which I forgot the name of that. But however, so you'll find there are multiple acts which the High Court is talking about. So in one judgment only you can get a knowledge about 3-4 acts. So not only one act. So whichever case you pick up any case, usually the main act would be in the Chidambaram would be prevention of corruption.
Thank you, sir.
Thank
Hello.
Yeah.
Hi Nilesh, I'm Pritish from Bombay. I just wanted to ask you one question. So,
Yes.
what is the most interesting scam or which case did you work on, and what was the experience like?
It's a good question, but ultimately, due to the client confidentiality, I'll not be able to tell you the
Yeah,
details
no
about it.
problem. No
But I can
problem. Yeah,
just
of course.
give you the name of the scam. JNPT scam I have recently worked on. So it was
Okay.
involving somewhere around 180 crores. The government was due to 180 crore rupees. So that scam I was working on recently.
And what did you do? Like, how did you go about it, and what was your practical experience, which will help other budding lawyers or budding or
Okay,
other law students?
I'll tell you my experience would be this. So sometimes just by hearing such kind of a scam. So suppose if it is 180 crore scam, so the judge's mindset usually is always the because the media has the weapon in their hand to influence the minds of the people. So even if they are judges, but sometimes they also get tends to get influenced. I'm not talking about the higher judiciary, but there's at some level they get influenced. So now in my case, that particular person has actually not played or any role in that, not even connected remotely to that particular that particular crime. However, just because it is the crime which is involving huge amount, the court did not entertain us at the lower level. So when we
Hmm.
went to the high court also did not entertain us, just considering the amount was involved. And when we went to the Supreme Court, ultimately we got a relief from the Supreme Court. So the
Hmm.
difficulties we usually face is there is a collateral damage. So also not a damage to you directly, but there is a collateral damage. So then under that scenario, I think we need to be more. We need to be more. The courts, the judicial approach should be that not everybody who is involved in that particular offense is directly an accused.
Hmm.
That's what.
Thank you, Nilesh. I hope to see you sometime in Bombay. Maybe when
Yeah.
you come to High Court. Even I
Thank.
practice in the Bombay High Court.
So, may I know your name, please, again?
Pritish Chatterjee.
So, thank you.
Thank you, Nilesh.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hello. Hello. This is
Hello,
Rajesh
sir.
Ghosh from Kolkata, sir.
Sorry.
This is Rajesh Ghosh from Kolkata.
Yeah, hi, Rajesh.
Rajesh.
Yeah, hi, Rajesh.
Sir, I would like to know, since you have worked with one of the best lawyers of India,
Hmm.
I would like to know those specific instances or specific experiences which makes Mr. Ram Jethamalani different from others.
Uh, I've seen him personally. He used to read a lot. Once he starts reading the brief, he doesn't want anybody's disturbance. So at least you will not see him remember getting out of getting out of his room for 15, 16 hours. So he was that hardworking fellow, very hardworking, thorough with the knowledge, and he followed one practice. So once he reaches a brief, he'll make his own notes, and once those notes are ready, I mean no matter how much help you do, even if you make the notes for him and you give it to him, he won't follow that. He wants to read his own brief. He wants to make his own notes, and then only he'll be ready with it. Otherwise, he'll never appear in the court. So that's what I've learned from him, I believe.
And regarding the presentation part, sir, he was very good in presentations also.
He was a fearless fellow. So usually people have that kind of a sense. Okay, of course he had that much of experience also. So people usually say yes to the court whenever they are not supposed to say. So suppose you cannot. So sometimes there is one particular point which you beg to differ, but sometimes you have to just say yes because he's the judge. So he never followed that practice. He always made sure, no matter what, he always gave justice to his own brief.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah.
Hello, sir.
Hello.
Yes, sir. I
Pratyush,
had this one question. Yeah.
yeah. Go on, please.
You told us in the beginning that the scope
for these kind of matters is only in Bangalore, Mumbai, and Delhi. But scams and money laundering goes on everywhere, right? So if I'd want to practice in a rural area or like in a smaller city, would that not be possible?
So that would be possible. See, the number of cases would be lesser. So ultimately, this is your bread and butter. If you're choosing this profession, so it would be your bread and butter. If the number of cases are lesser, then it's a question of a survival ultimately. If you just want to specialize in that particular thing, then you need to have that kind of number of cases also to handle and to gain an experience from. So
But
if you
aren't the scams and money laundering cases everywhere almost the same? Like even like leaving Bangalore, Mumbai, and Delhi, if you take any other rural areas, also aren't there a lot of scams and money laundering cases?
to see the financial hubs usually are this Bangalore, Mumbai, Delhi. So here you'll find now take any scam in India which has a link in Mumbai, Delhi, or Bangalore. So scam is also there. So everything is related to the metro cities and not to the rural cities. At least as far as my knowledge goes. And see the amount of 100 crore, 500 crore, 1,000 crores, such kind of amounts are usually involved. And I never heard of a scam which is arising out of the smaller city. Which city are you
Okay,
calling from?
I'm calling from Bangalore.
So the Bangalore.
Yeah.
See, you staying in a Bangalore. Bangalore is a financial hub. So
No, but I'm
just
actually
think
from.
about Raipur. Think about Raipur or something of that sort, or any other
Okay,
city.
okay. Thank you, sir.
Hello.
So Pratik Sharma has a question. So Pratik, go on. Pratik, I think we lost him. So yeah, this guy, Huawei P Smart. Please, you.
Hi. What are the safety measures or safety aspects that one needs to consider to get into this branch of law when dealing with the white collar crimes?
Safety measures in the sense of the economical safety, financial safety you're talking about.
Yes, see, when we deal with this kind of an economic offenses, so there are a lot of politicians who are involved in this. So in that case, what are the safety measures that an
Personal
individual?
safety, he means.
Yeah,
Personal
personal
safety.
safety. Yes.
See, when you're in such kind of a practice, you have to be fearless. So once you until unless you're fearless, you should not get into this. So because everywhere there is a risk involved. So if the doctors are treating a patient, there is a risk that the doctor might catch the infection, but that doesn't mean that you should not be a doctor, right? Similarly, whenever you face such kind of difficulties from any politician, you just have to make an application to the court. The court is there to look after you. So the court will take a necessary action against the person and protect you.
Okay, so the law also will is conducive enough to protect the individual,
Yeah,
right?
definitely. If the threat is substantial enough, so merely you merely just suspect that something might happen, that doesn't help. So this actual incident or actual threat call, something of that sort has happened, you just have to bring it to the notice to the court that you being a part of this particular case and you've been threatened or you've been pressurized. The court protects you, of course, allows you for the protection. So you get the
Okay,
protection also.
thank you.
That usually happens only in movies that politicians literally send a truck full of goons to take care with the lawyer and to get away with the
No,
petitioner.
No, it
in
doesn't. Yeah,
Maharashtra recently happened in Jitendra Award case.
yeah, normally it happens in the society.
Into?
So very recently, so we have a case which is coming up against Jitendra Award on Monday, Tuesday.
Okay. Okay. So the Pratik Sharma's question he has sent me in the chat box. So how do we differentiate a proceeding going on before a special judge initiated by CBI and ED and separate proceedings initiated by ED in PMLA?
All the courts has different powers. So now there are certain cases wherein the ED also takes cognizance of the same and they register a separate FIRs. There are other cases wherein the PMLA courts register a separate FIR in the same kind of an offense. Usually, usually when such kind of a scenario happens, the accused has an option to go before an high court to club this matter and put it before the same court. So they they don't have, because the evidence is same. And most of the cases, the evidence is same, paper trail is same, everything is same. Just because there are two different violation, there is a violation of two different acts. The two different FIRs gets registered. If at all, so this is what the question was, no?
Yeah. Yeah.
So you can under that circumstances you can approach the High Court to club those matters.
Okay.
And put it before the same court, one court at least.
Hi, one quick query. Just want to understand what happens to those money laundering crimes which where government servant is involved, say taking a bribe. Does this also come under a white collar, or
Yes,
is it how is it?
so it is interlinked. So once the Prevention of Corruption Act is kicked in, so now suppose if you want to get something done, so one person is caught in prevention of corruption is linked to the money laundering or any other act which involves a financial crime. So I'll just put it this way. Now for PMLA, this PMC bank scam. So they have paid some money to the officers, and thereafter they have committed the scam, right? So the people involved there is interlinked with that particular scam.
Okay. So in normal circumstances, if it is if you're paying a bribe, or if a government servant is taking a bribe, in that case, what happens? Like, what can be your remedy?
I would once the amount has been taken by the government officer directly, what can be the remedy?
Correct.
So under that circumstances, you just have to prosecute. I mean, you just have to go to the authorities, file a complaint to that regards, and once the complaint is filed, the proceedings under Prevention of Corruption Act will be initiated against him.
Okay. Thank you.
So do anyone has any other question? Any other question?
Yes, I do have one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Jagannath Nandu.
Yeah. Hi, sir. My question is that, sir, in a lot of financial crimes, when you go for an anticipatory, if it's not given and you want to try to withdraw it, the courts say that no, this is a financial crime, no withdrawal allowed. We won't allow speculative litigation. So, how do you deal with such situations when you are on the court, when you are in the court?
So usually it depends on the court. So while before you file a case for an anticipatory bail, first of all you need to ask a question to yourself whether under such circumstances the court can grant us a relief or not. But of course, when you ask yourself a question, that means you have to research about it and then answer it. And if the answer is no, then you should not engage yourself in filing it. But still, if your client insists and you want to file it, then you need to be ready with the fact that the court might reject it outrightly. The moment you will try and withdraw, the court might not allow you to withdraw. So it is a pure discretion of the court whether to allow you to withdraw or not. So there is nothing can be done about it. Once you are before the court, you are in the court's hand. Simple.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Yeah, when dealing with this white collar crime, sir, so how do we get enough data to contemplate in the court? Because as a normal citizen, if we want to get these data, so will it be possible for us to use just the RTI alone is enough for getting all these data?
If you just file an RTI, you get the all requisite data whichever is available. Apart from that, there's no access to a common human being to get an access to the data apart from an RTI. So whatever you want, everything is available in which way. So unless it is under the investigation, everything is available to you.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Next question, people, quick.
Hello, sir.
Yeah. Abhishek Sahai.
Abhishek Shahi.
Yeah.
Actually, I just want to ask that, like, in a white collar crime, like, if a government servant takes a bribe then what are the tools, defensive tools he can use to prevent himself? So I just want to know.
If the government servants takes the bribe,
Yeah,
what
what are
are
the
the
defensive tools he has, like to prevent himself? Like he have directly taken the bribe, so what are the defense he can
What are
present?
the defenses he can present in front of
Yeah,
court
yeah,
to
yeah.
so
protect
What are
himself in
difficulty?
prosecution?
What are the difficulties a normal prosecutor faces to prosecute that? matlab-
now see, so it's all subjective though, because once you are being accused of a prevention of a corruption act, so there are certain rules which we'll have to see it in the file itself, whether the rules are being followed. So there are certain rules for this such kind of an investigation. There has to be suppose if the notes are given, the notes numbers are not matching, the fingerprints are not there, the panchinama is not created. So it is all subjective. It cannot be a straight jacket formula or a defense which can be used. That's why every case is different. Like there can't be a straight jacket formula to defend yourself.
Okay, sir.
Not
Hello.
every shirt suits to everybody.
Yeah, one
Sorry.
question, sir, from Rajesh Ghosh.
Hello.
Kolkata.
Yeah.
Hello. Sir, regarding these types of cases which involves finance and accounts, is it necessary that a lawyer who does not have a finance and accounts background, he can also excel in such type of field?
Great question.
He can, but if you are not a lawyer, then the presentation would be a difficult part. But you can definitely help the lawyer. So you can help the lawyer to
No,
identify
no.
the
Suppose
fraud.
he is a lawyer, but he does not have a finance and accounts background.
Definitely. I mean, just for an instance, I was just kind of a person who never understand the account. So to understand the accounting part, I had to take on help of a few friends. So you have friends around you who are a CA, so just you'll have to understand what kind of a thing has happened. So for one or two cases, initially you'll have to take their help. Once you understood that this is what it functions like, and then you can take it ahead. So and I mean you'll have to take a help of somebody who understands account, but it is not possible without taking a help
So when we
to
take
understand.
help from such experts,
Yes, you'll have to.
can you share your experience whether we need to pay them or it is only on friendly basis, something like that?
So for my case, at least on a friendly basis, people have helped me. So it's all depend on what kind of a relation you share with that person. But usually people help in if you are doing it for the larger interest of the people, then public will definitely help you. So anyone can help you in that scenario
Thank
if
you,
you're
sir.
doing it if you're doing something for the public.
Thank you, sir.
So I have a question. Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, Sandeep, you go on.
Yeah, thank you so much. Good afternoon, sir. So you had mentioned that you had to go all the way to the Supreme Court in one of the cases because the relief just wouldn't be granted simply looking at the quantum of the amount involved in the crime.
True.
Now, my question is, when you went to the Supreme Court, did you avail of the services of a senior counsel, or did you argue it yourself? And if at all it was a senior counsel, then did he argue the same facts and proposition of law, or did he change it substantially from what was argued in the High Court?
It's a good question though, but I mean, I'll have to be restricted to this answer about this particular case. Otherwise, I understood what is your intention in asking this behind your intention asking this question. See, when you are well versed with your facts and when you are well versed with the law, you can stand in Supreme Court and present your case as it is. There is nothing different. I mean, your case won't change. Your law point won't change. So from the lower court up till Supreme Court, the law point would remain same as it is. That is number one. And even if you hire a senior counsel, the senior counsel will be also presenting the case, but of course, and with his expertise, he'll put it in might put things differently or might give you some different inputs as well. If there are no inputs, but the case has to be presented as it is, then why can't we present it by ourselves? That's what your question is, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes. So you can present your case as it is. It's just, according to me, it's just a myth to hire a senior counsel. Then only you get a relief. If you are good at your brief, If you have prepared well, then I don't think so. There is any stoppage for you to appearing before Supreme Court. Because
Okay,
in my particular case, not a single new not a single new argument was taken by a senior counsel which we have appointed, but just the judge's approach were